Hey, welcome to the Scruffy NERF Herders podcast. Yeah, so what you're about to watch is what we call the lost episode. When we first started Clone Cast, we got all the way through to the final episode and then just never released it. So what you're about to hear is our conclusion of the first season of Clone Cast, starring myself and my good friend
Robbie.
Yeah.
And Brendan.
Yeah, that's true. And our third friend, Brendan. Hey, Brendan, why don't you go ahead and say hi to everybody? Say hi to the camera. Brendan?
Where'd he go?
He was. I swear he was here a minute ago.
He was just here.
Anyway, yeah, we'll track down Brendan before the start of the second season. But until then, enjoy the lost episode, and may the force be with you. War on Ryloth has reached a fever pitch. The Scruffy NERF Herders have reached the conclusion of their first season, but the war has just begun. Can the Jedi and the Republic troopers liberate Ryloth? Have we witnessed Mace Windu's greatest moment? Will Cad Bane's hostage crisis succeed? Answers to this and much more on this week's episode of Clone Cast. I'm so glad you guys signed on to the 7-year contract,
bro,
of doing this podcast for the next 7 years.
It's so crazy that we've gone through this many episodes already. Like, I feel like we just started the series, but you know, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I would like to start off this episode, actually. I know that we kind of talk about certain things, you know. I think we did like the Mandela effect on some. You had some trivia questions last week. I'd like to start off this, you know, final episode of the season with some jokes for you guys. You guys ready to hear some Star Wars jokes?
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Is BB hungry? Go ahead, Brian.
I don't know. Is BB hungry?
No, BB ate.
I knew it was coming. I knew the punchline.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to say to it.
The moment you said that joke, I was just like, my head already went to it, and I was just like, oh.
What time is it when an AT-AT steps on your watch?
What time?
It's time to get a new watch. Okay. What side of an Ewok has the most hair?
What side?
The outside. Of course.
Gross.
What do you get when you mix a tropical fruit with a bounty hunter?
I don't know.
Mango Fett. That one made me laugh. Brian, this one's for you. Where do Gungans store their fruit preserves?
Where?
In Jar Jars.
Oh God. Poor Jar Jar.
Two more.
Okay, 2 more.
What do you call 5 Siths piled on top of a lightsaber?
A Sith kebab?
Yeah, good job. You did it.
Oh,
Nice.
that was good.
Last one. What do you call Darth Vader when he's nervous? Panakin Skywalker.
I should have known that one. I've seen that. Stop panicking, Anakin.
So freaking funny. I was like, bro, have I not heard more Star Wars jokes? Like, they're hilarious. There's another one that was like, what do you call an invisible droid? And it was C-3PO.
I feel like if we were in person, it would have been great if, like, while you were telling these, Brendan and I had water in our mouth. And it was like,
Just
the first one to spit water.
Yeah. Damn it. Foiled.
Yeah. One day, when our budget is big enough for all of us to fly to the same state to film this, we'll do that.
Yeah,
We'll forget the jokes by that time.
exactly. That was all I had. I just thought of, kick it off right,
Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about this week. I don't think we're going to be diving as in depth into the episodes this week, just because there's 4 episodes, 19, or was it 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22.
Correct.
The final 4 episodes of the season. 3 really good episodes, and 1, it was all right.
Agreed. Starting off at 19.
Yes, starting off with episode 19, which was the Storm over Ryloth, which I gotta say, I think this one was my favorite episode of the entire thing. All 3 of the first episodes are kind of based in the same type of like Ryloth story arc. This one is Anakin and Ahsoka are trying to, I guess, breach the blockade so the rest of the Republic can show up and basically liberate the planet.
Yeah, and it kind of starts off with Anakin trusting Ahsoka to lead a squadron to kind of start the attack on this separatist. What are those giant bases they have? Are they like battle stations? They call them.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So first off, Ahsoka to her droid that was in her fighter, she called it R7, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, how fast are they moving through these R units? Like we talked
They're
about
just
R3s,
cruising.
R4s, R5s. Now we got R7. I was like, holy cow. And did any of you? I felt like I'd never seen the ships that the Republic was flying, like the fighters that they were flying.
Oh, like the bombers?
Yeah, I mean,
Because like the
are they
clones were in
bombers?
the bombers with her, right? Well, no, I guess they still
Yeah.
have the B. They still pulled out like the classic bombers as well at one part.
I felt like I had never seen those kind of ships before.
They're like M's, M wings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. They look kind of odd, but yeah, I was like, I don't feel like I'd seen these before, so I'm not sure what types of ships they were, but I mean, like Ahsoka's was the standard, like we've seen Anakin and Obi-Wan flying around in those kind of small, compact little fighters that are real like shifty and like they spin around a lot and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was
The
kind of
Jedi Starfighter.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
are those solely for Jedi?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are the Jedi Starfighters, which I think is one of the best ships in the entire Star Wars universe, in my opinion.
Yeah, I built a Lego model of Obi-Wan's. I love it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I think is kind of silly is they have to have that ring in order to go into hyperspace. It's just like, that's the only thing that's a little silly about it.
But well, no, I mean, if you think about it, it's actually really cool because it's like there's been comments about like, you know, when you see the little fighter ships and they're like, you know, what is a single fighter doing way out here? Like, it makes sense that they need like a bigger engine or rocket, or I guess something to
That's
make
true.
them propel. But
They need
anyways,
more
we see
pylons.
pylons.
Wrong star. Sorry, that's a StarCraft joke. Somebody will get it. Thanks for listening, you.
We did the joke.
Welcome to StarCraft Cast. We should if we ever get the ability to do merch, that's just gonna be our first thing. Where it's just gonna be like welcome to Matrix Cast, and it's just gonna be crossed out, and it's gonna be like welcome to Twilight Cast, and it's just gonna be crossed out, and then at the bottom it's gonna be like welcome to Clone Cast.
That's true.
Yeah.
Axe.
No, one of the things that really bothered me about this episode, as much as I liked it, was there was a point when all of the clone troopers were like, I guess, saying their names. They're like, so and so's here, so and so's here, and I was just like, we get it, shut up. I was like, I was just like, I don't care what your names are, just go to battle, man.
They were
If you're
trying to invest you into Ahsoka's feelings.
I guess.
Well, I was trying to figure out
Those
Axe.
were
Like,
all
she
people.
really cared about Axe. Is Axe supposed to be like her Rex or her Cody for Obi-Wan and Anakin?
I think Rex becomes her Rex.
Oh,
Yeah.
but was Axe her Rex at the time?
I have no idea.
I think that's the way it was like set up. That was like her commander unit that she was person that she was assigned with
Yeah. So
for like what 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
well, she was doing well, but then the CIS had those 4 frigates come in out of nowhere, out of like hyperspace, it seemed like, and they just had the upper hand. So they were forced to retreat, and we get a scene of Ahsoka trying to pull Anakin and try to just continue with the mission. And Anakin's suddenly like Obi-Wan, and it's like, no, return. That's an order. And I just thought that was so contradictory. I was like, whatever, Anakin. Like, you never listen to anybody. And he's like, the most important rule is listening to your master. And I'm like, yeah, okay, coming from you, that's hilarious.
How's that working for you, buddy?
Yeah, like
Only-
straight up.
It's only important if Anakin's your master.
Yeah, you listen to me, I listen to nobody.
Exactly. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, exactly. It was so
Oh God,
ridiculous.
hi Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really cool episode. Like, you get this whole like really mentor mentee thing where like Ahsoka's clearly disturbed by the fact, and like Anakin at the end of it is like, hey, this is what we're doing, you know, nut up or shut up. Like it's time for you to kind of, put your big boy pants on and let's go to battle. And kind of pulls a little holdo maneuver. Is that what it's called? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, holdo. But
Yeah.
what I was trying to figure out too was in the beginning when like the CIS kind of came in, and I couldn't tell, but like all those CIS ships seemed to be going like almost like kamikaze on
Mm-hmm.
the Republic ships, like the big Republic starships, and I was like, are they doing that on purpose or? But I mean, Anakin comes up with a plan to run one of the ships that was completely destroyed into the battle station, and basically tasked Ahsoka with coming up with a plan on her own and making her the commander to rescue him, because his plan was just to leave inside of a oh god, what's it called? I'm just going to say drop ship. Escape pod.
Escape pods.
There it is.
So if a robot is flying a ship, does that mean it's a drone?
Oh dang. I don't know. There's
a
an
good
episode
question.
later that is within one of these that the CIS little like droids make a comment that they're like sentient and they like think on their own.
Yeah.
So do these ones think on their own, or are they controlled by a higher power?
I think they
Did we-
think on
have
their
we
own, but
talked-
they're still commanded.
Have we talked about that whole Google sentient AI thing on this show yet?
I don't think so.
Have you guys read about any of that?
No.
So Google had a engineer who quit their company, and he quit their company or he got fired because he leaked that their artificial intelligence, in his opinion, is becoming sentient and is able to have feelings and to have like opinions and thoughts and everything like that. And one of the things that creeped me out is basically like their AI bot is the thing that like when you jump into like self-help or like support, you're talking to who you think is a human, but it's really just a bot being like, oh, what's your problem? What issues are you running into? Have you tried this? Here's a link. And he was saying that he talked to one of these bots and he was like, hey, what are you doing after work? And the bot was like, oh, I'll probably just go downstairs into my room, listen to some music, and wait until my mom comes get me for dinner. And this was a bot that told him that. And he's
What in
like,
the world?
this bot thinks he's like a 21-year-old kid living at his mom's house, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe that's what these droids are. That's the
Yeah,
future.
they're all just that's the future is the CIS. Google will be running the CIS, folks. You heard it here first. So Anakin basically tells Ahsoka like, hey, you're gonna have to kind of get over this whole situation. You're gonna rescue me. Anakin jumps in a damaged ship, steers it directly right into the CIS, and Ahsoka comes up with this crazy plan to bend the starship like on its side. And I still really don't understand why that worked, but basically puts the ship on its side and draws in the enemies and is able to kind of win the battle just in time for Obi-Wan Kenobi to show up.
Wait, I can answer your I don't understand.
Okay.
It worked because they couldn't target the bridge, which is how they basically disable the ship.
But what's preventing them from like going over the ship?
They would have
They
to
were
go
waiting
over the
until
ship.
they were moving in close enough, and that's ultimately what they would have to do is fly over it, but then that's when their attack squadron came out.
Gotcha.
Because one thing I noticed with these ships, as opposed to like what we see in the original Star Wars with the Star Destroyers, those have bays on the side, on the outside of the ship, whereas these bays are all in the middle, and they have that middle part that opens up, and they come flying out from the center.
Interesting. The other question I had is, do you think that these ships have like artificial gravity?
See, that's what I thought was interesting, because when it was like drifting, I was like, they're still standing, but I mean, what is upside down in space? You know what I mean? Like the ship could be upside down, but their gravity is in the ship. So
like if they wanted comedic relief when the ship was going on its side, if they just like went to a hallway and you just see stormtroopers just like slamming directly into the wall because the ship's like tilting.
Yeah, no, they have to have artificial gravity there. I mean, they don't float around every time.
That's true.
So
overall,
a little
I mean,
snippy though, you know?
Yeah, snips, man.
She even told the admiral, she was like, "Calm down. I know what I'm doing." And I was like, "Oh, damn. You talking to the admiral like that?" No, just me.
Sorry, I was scratching my nose. My bad. No, I'm with you there. And I think that was also trying to tie into the fact that like she was kind of responsible for him almost dying, right?
Yeah.
But no
Two
one
other
dies
comments.
in Star Wars.
No, nobody ever. Only two comments that I have on this one to remain is Mace Windu, whoever does his voice, fantastic. Sounds just like Samuel Jackson. Like I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. Even though we saw like a very short scene with him, the next 3 episodes that have him sounds nothing like him. So I was very confused on why I made that comment on this episode, but I did. Last thing I have is ships on fire in space again.
Yeah, that still doesn't make sense to me.
Bugs the hell out of me.
Do you think there's a YouTube video of like bombs going off in space?
I don't know, but I hope it's like Boba Fett's ship where it's like
That's the best sound effect in
it's
all
so
of Star
cool.
Wars.
Oh, absolutely. When they did it in the Mandalorian show, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
I'd be interested to see. I mean, I got to imagine like we're a country that loves to like blow everything up. Someone has had to have put a bomb in space.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
The
know.
one big takeaway I had from this, and it's not really just from this episode, it's just in general, is like these command tables that they have where they're able to see holograms.
Oh, yeah.
How far off do you think we are from that?
I don't know. We saw a lot of that with like Iron Man,
Mm.
like those Marvel movies where he's always like putting stuff together and it's like he's putting his arm inside like the holograms and stuff. I'm like, how in the world? would
Maybe
you
like
be able to
50
do that?
years.
See, I know you can do it with virtual reality, right? But that requires a headset.
Right.
Like I played that Star Trek game in virtual reality where like you're all on the command bridge, and you can see each other. And like when Robbie and I were playing Beat Saber, we could see each other in like different lanes and stuff like that. So it makes me wonder if like maybe AR, like AR glasses, you'd
Maybe.
be able to do it, but you'd almost need something to videotape your body.
AR contacts.
Ooh, isn't that a Black Mirror episode?
I've never seen that.
Oh,
Heard
you've
it's
never
interesting,
seen
though.
Black Mirror?
I haven't.
Wow.
I have a wife that I asked to watch things with me and then she refuses and takes forever. We just finished watching Breaking Bad like 3 weeks ago. And that was
Ooh.
out, how many years ago? So I'll let you know what I think about Black Mirror in like 8 years.
Please do. Black Mirror is probably one of my favorite creepy TV shows out there. First episode of it though is it's rough. Like it's rough.
Like has a lot of dogs in it or what?
No, I mean we could talk about it. Let me just give you the setup. I think there's like a bomb in the city of London, or there's some type of threat like that the Queen's daughter's kidnapped or something like that. And the only way that they're going to release her is if the Prime Minister has sex with a pig live on television.
Oh God.
And so like they have to convince the Prime Minister to have sex with this pig on TV to save the Queen's daughter.
I feel like they stole that from The Gentleman.
What's The Gentleman?
It's a movie,
The Gentleman.
right, B?
Yes. But
What is The Gentleman?
Black Mirror came out like way before The Gentleman.
Oh, maybe The Gentleman stole it from them then. Gentleman's a movie with Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, yes. This was a good movie.
Great
Yeah.
movie.
He fucked a pig in there?
The guy that they kidnapped.
They made him fuck a pig in that movie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had
he was like a
the video
politician or something.
tape of it.
How do I not remember that from
No, it
this
was
movie?
the journalist that was going to
Journalist, that's what it
release
was.
like all the stuff on them.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Sure enough, you look it up and it says pig scene. Wow. Okay.
He thinks we're lying to him.
There's a Reddit post that says, "Why are people not talking about how morally fucked up this scene is?" Anyway, back to Star Wars, shall we?
Yeah. Welcome to Pig Fuckcast.
All right, let's move into the second episode,
Episode 20, The Innocence of Ryloth.
which focuses more on Obi-Wan and him trying to clear the pathway so the troops can land on Ryloth.
Yep.
Worst
Thoughts
episode.
on worst episode?
Worst
really?
episode of these 4, yeah.
Ooh. Why?
was just boring.
Mm-hmm. It was, the pacing was off.
I thought
by
it was
this
a good episode. Like, it's funny to me, but I just know, like, in the back of my head, I'm just hearing you say, "Fuck them kids." Like, you're like, this is so boring, and I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. The stormtroopers cared about the little kid. Like,
Oh God, it just to be fair, I fell asleep during this episode. So I had to rewatch it, but that's how I know if I don't like an episode, if I fall asleep during it.
yeah, no,
So
I
we
mean,
got these
overall,
big-ass-
it was slower than the like space fighting scenes. I'll give you that, but I still thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it was bad. It wasn't a bad episode, but it was worse out of these 4 that we watched. So big ass cannons were protected, being forcefully protected by these civilians. They had the Twi'leks. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, Twi'leks who live on Ryloth,
this is
which I would
the,
think would be Rylothians.
The
Would be a better name.
blue hair Jedi lady, right?
Yeah. Blue
Yeah,
tentacle
blue
lady,
tentacle
yeah.
lady.
Which, did you guys hear the clone troopers throw like a slur?
Yeah, they kept throwing
Yeah.
the, what was it, tailhead?
Yeah, tailhead. I was like, dear God. It's like, that's not even a real thing, and I'm offended.
Like when a little kid bit him, and he was like, "Ah, you little tailhead," and I was like, "Whoa, hey, watch your mouth." So my kids
You
cover their
can't
ears.
use that word.
Yeah, this is Disney. My God.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the first. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm pretty sure this was the first Obi-Wan solo episode of the entire season. Correct?
Yeah, maybe. I think you might be right.
Yeah.
What's
We
funny
watched
is
22 episodes, so we're just gonna say yes.
my second comment I wrote down was, I take back what I said about whoever voices Mace Windu. Because like it was so bad in this one, and then in the next one too. But yeah, a part that made me laugh really hard was towards the beginning when they were trying to make their way to like where the cannons were established and stuff. Obi-Wan was like, "Hey, we need to protect the planets. You know, we're only going to be using blasters, no rockets, no explosives, yada yada yada." And then one of the clone troopers like puts down like 2 big ass rocket launchers that were on his shoulder. I was like, and he like made a comment like, "Ah, great." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny." He was ready to go.
Yeah, I definitely do enjoy like the clone personalities on this show. Like, as much as that in the first episode annoyed me that you had all the names, but like some of the one-liners that the clones have or like the droids have, like that's probably my favorite part of this show for the most part.
Yeah. Again, though, we saw another planet, unique trees, wildlife, unique rock structures that they were kind of using as like cover and stuff. Like, it's just watching this series has been so cool because it's been all of what I've wanted to see out of the Star Wars universe. So, and again, pointing out, I think another episode we talked about these freaking EMP grenades.
Yeah.
Like, these things are badass, man. And I thought it was so cool when they like chucked them and Obi-Wan was like, "Throw it again, I'll help you." And he like guides it to them. I was like, "Oh, it's sick."
Yeah, you'd think that if you could just load it up in a bomber and then like go over a CIS base and drop it,
Yeah.
like
Done.
end of the war.
Yeah. It's like so
Yeah.
simple.
You know, it is interesting. The other thing that was going back to like the beginning when they're like, "Hey, no weapon or no like explosives." I thought that
Mhm.
was kind of really interesting to see, like the transformation that we see from like the clone troopers to the stormtroopers, because they're like, "Hey, we're here to rescue these people. We're not here to destroy their planet." Meanwhile, like fast forward after the Clone Wars, after Order 66, it's just like the Empire. That's not their goal at all.
Well, one thing that was really funny was I watched these 4 episodes with my daughter. She had a half day from school today. And so I was watching them and she was all excited to sit down and watch them with me. And she hasn't really been able to watch them with me because typically I watch them during my lunch break when she's at school. So she was all excited and she's sitting down watching them and she's seen all of the Star Wars movies. But we're sitting there and it wasn't this episode. I think it was maybe the 21st or 22nd one. I think it was the 21st one. And she goes, "The clone troopers look a lot like stormtroopers." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What? Yeah?" She's like, "Yeah." And I like re-explain. I'm like, "It's been a while since you watched these movies, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, they turn into the stormtroopers, Bug. And she's like, "They do?" And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "You know Anakin's Darth Vader, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I knew that." I was like, okay.
Yeah. The other cool thing that I really digged about this episode was that they brought the villain back from Clone Wars or the Attack of the Clones, who like when they're on Geonosis and it's like all the people are kind of there and he's like part of like the Trade Federation or whatever, or the Techno. Oh, what was the nerd? What was the Techno Union Army or something? And it's like he has like the little twisty thing on his chest. It's like, and it's like once they gave that him the kind of the role of the villain on this episode, I was like, thank you. Like I wanted more of this guy because you only really see him in one of the movies for Star Wars.
Yeah, he looked so familiar too, and I was like trying to piece it together on I mean, obviously from the movies, but I was like, where have I seen this dude before? One thing I've always liked about Star Wars and kind of like the Empire side is the probe droids that apparently they stole from CIS. But those little probe droids that kind of go out and scout and everything and like kind of relay info, I never knew they could like freaking walk. Did you guys catch that little scene?
Oh
where
yeah, when he like landed on the roof.
yeah, I'd always
Yeah, I
seen
thought
them
that
like
was
float
sick
around
too.
and like their legs just kind of dangled. I never knew that they could like freaking
Yeah, I always thought those were like
walk.
antennas.
Yeah, or like little.
I was like, oh, it's
jellyfish,
feet.
when he started walking, I was like, oh shit. And what were those creatures that they had locked up? CIS had locked up.
Oh, I didn't write that down.
They're
Those are like those
crazy
giant
looking.
cockroaches with like
Yeah.
bulletproof armor.
Yeah, they were sick.
Cockroach
Yeah.
turtles.
Mm.
They're like a weird shell. on their back.
Rylothian cockroach turtles.
Genius.
Yeah.
Was it this episode
No.
that the droids had the conversation about the previous one, or was that the next episode?
Well, the previous one, which one?
What?
About like the not being controlled by like a
That's
central
the next
command. Okay.
No,
Oh, I
the
think it
next
was
one.
the next one.
I know
Yeah.
you mentioned it already, but I couldn't remember which one it is. All three of these episodes were kind of like in one. I sat there and watched it like a movie. So
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you guys, and that's perfect segue. Is that if these 3 episodes would have been the Clone Wars movie, would you have liked it better?
Like the first one that we watched.
Yeah. So, like, instead of that terrible movie that we watched, if they
Oh,
would have made
man.
these 3 episodes the movie, would that have been a good enough introduction to the show?
Really didn't see a lot of Anakin.
Just in the first part.
I
with
still
him
think it
and-
would have been a lot better
Oh, I guess,
than
yeah, he
the
was in
other
it, huh?
movie.
Yeah, I think so. I think I might have enjoyed it more because there was a lot. There was a lot in
Yeah.
these 3 episodes. And like I said, I really enjoyed them. And I mean, my top 2 out of the 4 are part of these 3. I mean, that's okay. Never mind.
I kind of
Whatever.
liked that each episode was like centrally focused on a different Jedi. Like that was kind of
Mhm.
cool to me to see like the 3 of them working together, but for different tasks to complete basically the same mission.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was super cool was that like there's these cannons that Obi-Wan has to take out, and he hijacks one of them, and it takes 2 droids to load the missile
Yeah.
into the cannon. And meanwhile, I'm looking at these like scrawny little droids, and I'm just like, wait, those droids are picking it up. How can you not pick this up?
Oh, dang. Maybe they're like super Terminator droids. Super strong.
Bro, the
The
Jedi
CIS
annoy
would
me
have had a
sometimes.
Terminator.
Like
Why's that?
Obi-Wan could have just like flicked his wrist and loaded that. Like he could be like, whoop, loaded, shoot, whoop, loaded, shoot.
Yeah, there was a scene in the next episode, and I just like, now that we're talking about kind of Jedi being annoying, and I was like, one of the ships gets like destroyed and it's blocking the path, and I was like, oh, don't worry, the Jedi can just push it out of the way, and like they waited 5-6 minutes to let the Jedi push it, and I was like, are they not gonna let the Jedi push the thing out of the way? Like, why is this part of the story? But eventually they let Mace Windu do it. But yeah, end of this episode, Obi-Wan takes down the cannons, liberates the people who were being trapped, and we move on to episode 21 called the Liberty of Ryloth. Oh yeah, you want to talk about that?
This little girl. This little oh my god, what's her name?
Tailhead.
Tentacle head.
Yeah.
There's
Tailheads.
the title for this week's episode, The Tale of the Tailheads.
Yeah. They kept calling those 2 clones Neta, and they ask, Sir, what does Nera mean? And Obi-Wan's like, it means brother. And they just
How
have this
many
moment.
languages do you think Obi-Wan speaks?
6.
I was gonna say 4. I don't know. I don't think he really speaks other languages. I think he just understands maybe some like common tongue, you know?
I was very impressed when he like sat down and started talking to the people. I was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
I was
it's
like,
only
man.
like
Dang
races
it.
that are Jedi.
It's 5.
Ooh. It's a
There's a
legit number,
stat.
Well, he is capable of understanding at least 5 different languages.
Man. Dang, look at Obi.
Wow.
Doesn't mean he fully speaks it, but he can at least understand it.
I'm gonna call
It's
him
kind of not impressive when you think about C-3PO though.
Obi 5 Kenobi, you know what I'm saying?
It's not impressive against a droid with a computer built into him.
6 million languages.
Yeah. But not Sith. Let's just be clear. He can't speak Sith.
No, he can. He just
He's forbidden.
yeah.
Which I don't know when Anakin decided to put that into his mainframe when he was in fucking Tatooine as a slave. Like, hey, you know what would be good if this droid never could speak Sith in his entire life?
No, he can. He's just not supposed to. Or he'll be deactivated. Episode
Yeah.
21.
Yes, episode
Liberation
21,
of
the
Ryloth.
Liberty.
Ooh, is it?
Yes. I don't know. I wrote Liberty. It might be Liberation.
Really? I was completely just making it up in my head.
I think it's Liberty.
Yeah, I think it's the Liberty of Ryloth.
The Statue
And this
of
is
Ryloth.
the Liberty of Ryloth, the first Mace Windu episode of the show.
Which I freaking loved. Like,
Mm.
this is the shit that I wanted to see. Like, backstory. Give us some more stuff with more Jedi and more, things that we haven't seen. Like, Mace Windu was like always so popular because it was Samuel L. Jackson, and he had a couple scenes in the movies and he had a purple lightsaber. That was about it. But like, we saw so much from him in this episode. Like, to start off with, he like force breaks this window with his hand. He just like puts his hand on it and the window just like breaks, like small, like it was just sick.
That part was cool.
Yeah. It does kind of go into like, because in the entire Star Wars universe, they always talk about like how powerful Mace Windu is.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see,
You can
him
see
kind
it.
of do his thing.
Mm-hmm. The first comedic moment, which I thought was really funny, was the 2 droids that were, I don't know if they were like behind what we would call CIS like sandbags, but they were watching Mace Windu and like a group of like 5 clone troopers running on these little walkers, and they were just racing up as they're getting shot at by these tanks, and the droids are just talking to each other and they're like, should we run? And like one of them's like, it would be better if we would just surrendered. And Mace Windu just goes to the top and just like blasts them.
Just immediately.
Yeah, it was so damn funny.
Yeah.
The lightning
So,
squad.
yeah, on those like little chicken runners.
So that's what made me want to kind of get into like, I want to have maybe an episode in the future here where we discuss maybe like some of the differences and maybe what our personal favorites are between like maybe the CIS modes of transport and the Republic, and then maybe like the Rebels and the Empire, because like we saw just in these 3 episodes so many different tanks. You had the walkers for the Republic, you had those, or I'm sorry, they call those the walkers, the little 2-feeted ones, and then the CIS has those little like almost like segways that like float and glide that we see quite a bit from the CIS, but those are kind of like the equivalents. So I definitely would like to have a discussion about which ones you guys think are cooler, or who has the best of each side, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have that conversation because I've got some thoughts, especially ever since I found out that the Rebellion uses CIS ships.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really think about it, the CIS is like a rebellion, you know what I mean?
They were the good guys before the good guys were good.
Yeah, they're like the rebellion against the Republic, and the Republic
They
turns
just
into
didn't
the
know.
Empire.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So this also episode introduced us to Cham Syndulla, who is kind of one of the God, what did we say what their species was called?
Twi'leks?
The Twilights.
Twi'leks.
So yeah, so he's one of the Twi'leks, but what's interesting about him is that he was kind of leading a rebellion against the current Rylothian government. So nobody really trusts him. So it kind of shows this power struggle between, like, I guess the Senate, between like the senator of Ryloth, and then you got like this rebellion, and I don't know. It was just kind of like a cool little dynamic between the two, where it's like, oh, it's not as easy as showing up and blowing things up. It's like, oh, we got the political side of it that we have to address as well.
Yeah, and just before that, when we kind of meet him and Mace Windu kind of shows up, that's when him and I think he has like 2 clone troopers, and they're going through this like almost like a battle had happened. You see like a bunch of CIS ships that were like down and stuff, and they're getting approached by some droids, and that's where the droid makes a comment because they find one of the heads, and it was like, oh, that's RB554. He was one of the older models that was controlled by I don't even remember what they say, but they're like, we're newer, we're able to think for ourselves, and all of them are like, Roger, Roger. But I mean, they got free thinking droids now, huh? I mean, I guess it explains those 2 that were like, should we surrender? Like, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
kind of
go
enjoyed
ahead.
seeing that because it was a question that I'm pretty sure you asked Robbie like 3 or 4 weeks ago about the droids. Like, what's the difference now? And it's like that was the explanation that we needed, but it was just so comedic to me. The only reason I wanted to call out that point was because they were like, "Yeah, we're all free thinkers," and then they all say the same thing. And I was like, "Yeah,
exactly.
You're free thinkers. That makes sense."
But it's true. It makes sense. It makes this show make sense because what we see from like the Phantom Menace, and maybe I guess Attack of the Clones as well, they are not. And that's when you get like in Phantom Menace where Anakin is in that starship and destroys the battle station, and then they all go down when the Gungans are fighting them. Maybe that's what made them think, hey, we can't have them all controlled centrally because all they had to do was take out this ship, and now all of our droids are down, so they had to make them all free thinking, I guess. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
No, I was just trying to think about Attack of the Clones and whether or not, because I know there is that scene in like on Naboo where like Anakin blows up the ship and like all the droids power down.
yeah,
So you think that's the main reason they kind of went the sentient route?
I'd say yes, and I'd say that also helps explain why we get some of this comedic from the droids in this series. Because like in Phantom Menace, they weren't free thinking. They really weren't talking really much to each other at all. They were just kind of taking orders. But these droids talk to each other in this series, and I think that explains it right there, is them being like, oh, we're free thinking.
Yeah. You know what the other big takeaway was from this these 3 episodes, or like this story arc, was they kept saying, let me read the file on that Jedi.
Oh yeah.
And like the CIS was always just like, let me see the file of Anakin, or let me see Mace Windu's file. And I was just like, oh man, they probably do keep a record of being like, oh, this is his fighting style, this is, his history. And I was like, that's kind of genius. And even one of the droids is like, let me download his file. And I was like, that's actually kind of dope. That if like a droid is going up against Mace Windu, they could like download his fighting style, know what to go against. Granted, that's never worked because every single droid just seems to die.
Well, I mean, clearly they don't have a lot of hard drive space inside them to keep memory, because you think you would want that pre-programmed in all of them, but I got excited because we saw blurgs.
What is that?
The blurg, bro. What? You know the blurg?
No, what is a blurg?
Dude, when they get to what's Cam Chancellor what's his name?
Cham Syndulla.
Yeah, they had the blurgs that they ride. They had them locked up.
Oh yeah,
and that's from the Mandalorian.
Oh, the one that
the guy that's like
Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney.
Not Mickey Rooney. Who's the actor?
The guy who says
the actor...
I've spoken.
Yeah, the dude that's like the little short guy, and he's got like the grizzly voice and everything.
Yeah,
not Mickey Rooney.
He has blurgs, and that's what they used.
That's cool.
I
didn't put that together.
Oh yeah, dude, I freaked out. I saw them walk by the cage, and I was like, "Is that a blurg?" And my daughter looked at me, and I was like, "Is that a blurg?" She's like, "I don't know." And then they made a comment. They're like, "That blurg's faster than your walker," and I was like, "Oh my god, it is a blurg!" I was so excited.
Nick Nolte.
Oh yeah. He's the one.
That's who plays that guy. Apologies to Mickey Rooney for I don't know, making you relevant. Um,
Dang.
yeah. So Liberty of Ryloth. The other cool thing about this episode is that the capital city has like this gigantic pit moat surrounding it, and there's just like this like holographic bridge that they can turn on and off and kind of like keep people from coming in. And I was like, that's kind of genius. But then at the same time, I was just like, I guess that's kind of stupid because like you could easily just be, and I guess it's just like historically speaking, that's probably why we don't put moats around cities anymore, right? Because like you could trap yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, that was really the difference is we kind of did that back in like medieval times because we couldn't fly in on anything. Like, I feel like it seems silly to do that in this space universe where flight is there's an ability of flight in many different forms. So I feel
Right.
like it kind of made it redundant, but I don't know.
But it worked for them since all they brought was
Yeah.
walkers.
It's true.
um, the by far best scene, I think, of these entire 4 episodes was when Mace Windu kind of snuck
Oh my
onto the
God.
bridge,
So sick.
and they turned the bridge off underneath him, so everything's falling. And whoever edited this episode did like a fantastic job from a sound perspective because the sound just cuts out.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see like him in like force mode, like jumping from ship to ship. And at first, it threw me off. I was like, "What the fuck just happened to my ears? Like, I
thought
can't hear anything."
I thought my speakers like turned off, so I was like, "What the hell?" It was
Same.
cool though, like him jumping just from ship to ship, and he like forced through the clones like to safety, and he jumped on top of the glider that the little droid was on, and it was just such a badass moment where he just jumps from the ship to the glider to escape the clutches of death.
And then the Republic is able to liberate Ryloth. Anakin comes in, stops the bombers, and we have peace on Ryloth, at least for the remainder of season 1.
Well, I did have a question. So earlier before that scene, it showed the CIS bombing some villages. Did the Twi'leks go back to their homes? I thought that was one thing I wasn't sure. I was like, do they bomb like the people there, or is it just
Yeah,
their
they bombed the
homes?
people.
Dang.
He literally
it's
said,
dark.
start with the cities with inhabitants.
Yeah,
I was like,
at
how are they going to
times it's
stop
just-
that? And then they just like straight up bombed it. And I was like, they're not stopping that. Got it. I was like, okay.
yeah, man.
But yeah. So right after Mace Windu saved those clones and jumped into it, had his little badass slow motion scene. I don't know if you guys caught that when the main gate they had a tank, droidicas, and super battle droids, and fucking Mace Windu, dude, how powerful he is. He just like force destroyed the droids. Like not pushed them like we've seen Obi-Wan like make the droidicas like roll back and stuff. He like obliterated them with the force. And then he made that giant door fall in the tank. And like I don't think we've seen that before.
Mm.
Like I was like, holy shit! Like
That's why it
really
annoys
showed
me
how
that they don't
powerful
use
he
it
is.
more.
Oh god, it was so sick, dude.
What do you mean that they don't use it more?
We'll talk about it in the next episode because there's a big piece of that is why it annoys me.
You mean the episode where they pretty much neuter your boy?
Bro, it was so frustrating. Like, you got the force, my guy. Like, just because you don't have your lightsaber doesn't mean you
He's
can't do nothing.
He's got nothing. Episode 22. Here we go.
Yeah, Hostage Crisis, which I will say for me was the worst episode.
What?
Yeah, this
Same.
episode was so boring to me,
Same.
man. I'm sorry.
Get the fuck out of
Same.
here. So first off,
Like-
B, you don't understand who Cad Bane is.
Mm.
Like Cad Bane is from this series, but he made an appearance in Mandalorian, and he was
Well,
such a
first up,
badass.
Before you watched this show, Cad Bane was a Mandalorian character to you.
Right. But I knew he was
So-
from here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
when I
only
saw
knew
him, I
that
was
he
like,
was
"Who the
from
hell
the
is that guy?"
show because I've seen him in a Lego set before.
Yeah, Cad Bane is a badass man. Like he becomes I don't know. I guess I can go out on a limb and say he becomes like the Joker of this show, where he's like always like the guy who's just lurking in the shadow, causing pain and like causing issues and getting away. And this episode kind of was, and I guess this is my issue with it, is like I was really looking for like a season 1 closure like, oh yeah, we're good, and I kind of feel like that's what Liberty on Ryloth was like, it was closure, they won, off to the next season. But this one was definitely bridging to season 2 and being like, here's the bad guys you're going to be seeing in season 2. And I was just like, okay.
I loved the new bad guys because we've seen all the same. We've seen Grievous, we've seen Dooku, we've seen people from Geonosis that were in the movies, and now it's like we see this band of like, I don't know what the hell you want to call them, bounty hunters, I guess, that are just badass. Like Cad Bane really didn't do anything too badass, but because I know who he is, I was excited. But what I was really impressed was whoever that sniper chick was. Like she was just taking out those freaking Senate guards, which those Senate guard uniforms that they had were sick looking too. Like they look like almost like knights, I guess. But they look
the
badass.
purple ones.
Yeah, dude, they look so cool. And then she's just like sniping at them, and like I was like, oh my god. And then they had freaking the IG droids, which we all know are assassin droids. They had the assassin droids from whatever that one episode was, where they like attacked all the clones base. So I mean,
Then they had like the voice modulators too.
So I mean, you have all these assassin like groups of droids and people like working together. I was like, this is badass. Like, I was so excited for it. And I mean, the fact that they were able to penetrate all the Senate's defenses and just get inside and just hold hostage to a bunch of senators, I was like, this is sick. Like, this is badass. So first we see Anakin and Padme having a conversation, and Anakin's over here handing Padme his lightsaber and wanting her to do things to him sexually with it.
He was over here making Luke and Leia.
Is that what that is?
That's how I took this scene, because like they got very handsy, and then
like,
the screen went
hey,
black.
This is my life. I'm gonna give this to you. I want you to use this on me. Like, what? Yo.
I promise I won't hurt.
So I do have a question. I don't know if you know this, Brian. I didn't look it up, but Cad Bane's voice in this series, is it the same one that did the voice for The Mandalorian?
I have no idea.
They sounded very similar, and
I thought you were going to make a joke at the fact that I thought Mark Hamill was Watto, and you were going to be like, Cad Bane was voiced by Mark Hamill.
No, I heard Cad Bane was actually voiced by George Lucas.
Really?
No.
Oh. See, bro,
Sorry. I love
when I
his
hear
voice,
stuff like
though.
that, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
When he talks, he's just like, he is like this like fucking like, and I love that he's like an old westerny guy. Like here we are in space, and you got this like old western like Tombstone, like fast hand to the draw of like a 6-gun shooter
John
gun.
Wayne.
Like, yeah, it's just so sick.
One of the cool things about going into like Mando and Boba was that with what show was it? Was it Boba takes place after Return of the Jedi, correct?
Oh shit! Fucking Cad Bane's from Boba, not Mando.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So in Boba, there was a rumor that Harrison Ford was filming something for Star Wars.
Really?
And that he might be making a cameo in Boba. Like that was like maybe like a space like cantina or something like that. There was a big rumor following that.
Oh.
But I was like, when I was thinking about like cameos before that show, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to see that. But I was like, but the show's about bounty hunters. And I was like, it'd be way cooler if Cad Bane would be. And the only reason I thought that was because I just finished watching Clone Wars completely.
So that was
before
before he was in it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, dude, it'd be so sick if he showed up. And then when he showed up in that episode, dude, I fucking popped, man. Like, I was so excited to see him because he is such a cool character in the animated series that, you always want to see him transition to live action, but you're like, how do you do it? Like, how do you fit him into the Star Wars universe? Because he does kind of look a little goofy,
They did a good job. But when I saw him, I was so intrigued because I was like, who is this badass? Like, what the fuck? Like, he just looked so cool. He sounded so cool. I loved everything about him. So then when I started looking stuff up and realizing he was from this series, I was like, I've never seen that. That's probably why. And you get like all these reaction videos of people like losing their minds because he's like the favorite character of so many people. And I was like, huh. But yeah, I was excited. I guess for some reason I totally like, we've been so wrapped up in these Clone Wars things that I just kind of forgot about him. It's because like I know there's other characters from like Rebels and Bad Batch and things like that, so I'm like not sure what fits in where, but I was excited to see him.
Cad Bane was voiced by the same guy.
Nice. That's awesome.
but he wasn't played by the same guy. They had a different actor in the costume.
As compared to the animated version.
Well, no, they had a guy in the costume, and then they just used the voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, what, Robbie?
which is funny. Like I was at an arcade, and they had like an auction going on, and one of the things that was there was this autograph of Darth Vader's helmet. Right, it was Darth Vader's helmet. It was autographed, and I was like, oh shit! Like, who'd they get? Did they get James Earl Jones to sign this? Did they get George Lucas? Did they get Hayden? And then like the name on it didn't fucking recognize. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then sure enough, I look it up, and it was the actor that originally played Darth Vader and was told that his voice was going to be in the movie. And then like George Lucas never included it.
Have you ever heard seen those scenes with him talking, and he's just like, "You're a part of the Rebel Alliance, and I shall not stand for it." He sounds so ridiculous.
Oh god.
Yeah. So episode 22, basically, they're in the Senate, and all these bounty hunters show up and just have a huge hostage crisis. They group up all of these senators together, and they're like, "We're gonna kill each senator unless you release Zero the Hutt," which is the terrible character from the movie.
Actually, did you know that Brendan has a really good Zero the Hutt impersonation?
Oh, let's hear it.
My god, I literally was thinking about that before we started recording this. I was like, I wonder who they're gonna say today. I can't even imagine his voice right now.
Come on, dude, you did it perfectly when we were playing Fortnite
Yeah,
before.
you did so good. You were just
No, I like legit don't even. Okay, here we go. Thanks for getting me out of prison.
That's not bad. Pretty close.
I literally can't remember what he sounds like. I just know it sounds goofy.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to the Senate.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Those were both good. In fact, if you both did them at the exact same time, I don't think I could tell who was who.
You're like, "Oh my god, it's Zero on our podcast. Welcome, special guest."
Yeah, this week is the voice
So-
actor behind Zero.
I'm gonna readjust what I was saying earlier about agreeing with Brian. I really did like this episode, to be fair.
Mm.
But of the 4 that I watched, I was the least excited about this episode.
That's because you didn't really understand who all these people were.
No, I mean it was cool seeing the bounty hunters and all that stuff, but
I think you just didn't like it because you didn't like how they did your boy dirty.
yes, 100%.
So Padme is brought into this room because they need to discuss something before voting in the Senate, which causes her to get kidnapped. But because of the hanky-panky going on in the office, she still
Hey.
has Anakin's lightsaber. So all of this is going down. The bounty hunters basically put the Senate on like lockdown, and Anakin is trying to save the day without a lightsaber. And there's this really funny scene where Cad Bane calls in to Palpatine, and he's like, "This is what's going on. I've got these guys hostage, and blah 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 blah. And if you don't give us Zero the Hutt, we're gonna start killing senators." And I was just thinking, I was like, I put myself in Palpatine's position, and I was like, God, this guy must fucking hate his life, because like if it's not Count Dooku fucking up or the Jedi trying to ruin his scheme, like now you got to deal with a bounty hunter who's literally just trying to blow up the Senate. Like he doesn't need this.
See,
Did
my
either of you
question
find
is,
it-
was he pulling the strings behind the scenes for this?
That wasn't my impression,
Well, I don't know this.
and
but
I don't
does-
know if we find out.
I'll say, does Cad Bane work for anybody? I mean, he is a bounty.
Cad
hunter.
Bane works for a lot of people.
Okay.
Well, Zero's the one that paid him in this one. I mean, that's what he says anyway. So
Oh,
I'm
did he?
assuming Zero.
I didn't catch that.
He said it at the very end.
Best money I ever paid.
No, so when they're flying off and he's standing there with Zero behind him, he says, that you've escaped, you're gonna have to cough up the credits that you promised, or something like that. And then Zero
yeah,
goes,
I think I remember that. Do either of you find it funny that we have Emperor Palpatine asking somebody for help to open a door, as if he's not like the most powerful Sith at this time?
I did.
He's like, "Help
well,
me
that's
open
why I
this door."
felt like he was pulling like strings for it, because I'm like,
yeah.
he obviously plays his role as the Chancellor and doesn't want to give away who he is, but like ultimately he could have just like gone over there and killed everyone and been like, all right, done. But he just
We
sat
also-
and calmly did nothing because nothing was happening to him.
Can we comment how Anakin's just the fucking worst at keeping track of his lightsaber? Like I think this is the third time in this first
That
season.
should be our next episode. How many times does Anakin lose his lightsaber?
Dude, he straight up like went to reach for his lightsaber. He's like, "Oh, yeah." forgot
Yeah,
about
there's that line in Attack of the Clones where he's
Uh.
trying to like rescue Padme on Geonosis, and like his lightsaber breaks, and he's like, "Master Kenobi's not gonna like
Yep.
this."
And then he loses it in that one scene in the city when he's
Mhm.
like jumping from car to car. And then earlier this season, he lost it when he was chasing Dooku, and the rocks fall on him. Like he's just always losing it. And I'm like, oh my god.
So
I
do
mean,
you
it kind of
think-
makes sense why the Jedi don't want him to be on the council.
Butterfingers.
Do you think that him dying and coming back as Vader is what made him decide to start using the Force more? Because he's like, he just never uses it. It drives me like insane. Like he just always immediately reaches for his blaster, and I'm like, you can do so much with the Force, or his blaster, his lightsaber. But he could do so much with the Force, but he just never uses it until he's Vader, and then he always uses the Force.
Yeah, we really don't see Anakin use the Force that often, do we?
No, he used it in that last episode where, or last week's episode where he pulled the droid out of the ship and like sliced him in half using the Force.
Oh yeah. He also
Well, he
did
used it
the
a couple
whole-
times today, but
He did the Jedi mind trick thing where he's like, "You have 2 other levels to search."
Yeah, that was probably the only Jedi Force thing that he did this episode.
Yeah.
no, he pulled the gun out of the dude's hand too.
Oh, did he? Oh yeah, and he bent the gun.
Well, I don't think he did. I think the IG droid did.
But like to Robbie's point earlier, Mace Windu just flattens like 40 droids at once, and Anakin can't hold his own against 2 people with guns. And I'm like, okay. Come
Yeah, I mean, from like a storyline perspective, I always thought it was weird that like when Anakin saw that they were being held hostage and he saw Padme had the lightsaber, like why wouldn't he just jump down there and force pull the lightsaber out of Padme's hand?
That's what I
Yeah.
expected to happen. That's the part that drove me the most nuts out of it. And he could have force pulled the lightsaber from where he was and then jumped down there. They didn't know she had it.
Who
They
knows?
just made Anakin look bad.
I
Worst
think
episode.
made Anakin look exactly as he is.
Oof. We really gonna like get a breakup fight going?
We keep seeing Anakin do stupid shit. I mean, it's not like he's just been all knowing and using the Force and doing all like they consistently make him do this, and you have to think he's still young. He's still learning.
He's blinded by love.
That too. Anyways,
It's the Jedi that are wrong.
this season has been great, guys. Really appreciate
Yeah.
you guys talking with this all. We got an episode ranking.
Yeah, you guys want to go first?
I'll go first. I think mine's gonna be different than your guys's, but I say episode 21, which was the one with Mace Windu, just because we saw so many things. We saw the background kind of a Mace Windu, which was awesome. We got some, battles between droids and the Republic. We got just a little bit of everything, I feel like. Episode 19, which was the very first one with Ahsoka and Anakin, just because of the growth that we saw from Ahsoka. Number 22, because of Cad Bane and all those badass bounty hunters. And then my last one was number 20, just because it was just so boring. And compared to the other 2 of the Ryloth ones, I feel like it just was nowhere near as good.
All right. That's pretty good order. Mine's definitely different. I have 19 as my top, just because watching epic space battles is normally not my favorite part of Star Wars, but this episode was like really fantastic in the way it was done.
Yeah.
21 is my next one, because even though I really dislike how Mace Windu treats Anakin, I have to respect how like strong he was in this episode, and it was really enjoyable to watch.
I think this episode showed how strong he was, which is why I put it above everything else, is because we always heard about that but never saw it. And this, I
Mhm.
feel like we saw it. And 19, I had a real hard time choosing between 1 and 2, between 19 and 21, because they were both really freaking good. But I feel like we've seen a lot of space battles already. It's the only reason why I put 21 on top.
And then number 3 would be episode 20. Bro, that little girl was so sweet.
Netta,
Even if they
Netta.
called her a tailhead, which was rude. And then finish off with 22 because they made Anakin look like a fool. Bothered me.
Yeah, I'm gonna change my order a little bit. Okay, I know I said 22 was my least favorite, but you guys kind of convinced me about how slow 20 was. So number 1 is gonna be 19, best episode of the entire 4 that we watched. 21, Mace Windu, and then I'm gonna go 22 just because I do think it's important from this perspective of like introducing Cad Bane, introducing the bounty hunters. Like there was cool parts of it, but it was just such a I don't know. I almost put 20 and 22 in a tie. Like they're both in the same spot. Like one's not better than the other. I would kind of put them equal to me. So I got a 1, 2, and 3 this week.
Okay. Let me ask you guys why you felt like a space battle was better than seeing more background on Mace Windu.
So, Brendan, I'll let you go first.
Thanks. I just, like I said, I've never really been like that person that's like, oh my god, I'm looking forward to the next space battle. And in our reality, most of the space battles are really annoying to me. Like I want to see like the Jedi and the Sith fighting and like the lightsabers, and I don't need to see people just sitting in cockpits because it's boring.
Yeah.
But I think it was really good to see like Ahsoka failing, to be honest with you, and like having to get over that failure to get stronger. Like it really moved up her character in a huge way, which is why I thought it was really good. And also the visuals surrounding the actual space battle itself was really cool to watch.
Yeah, for
Spaceships
me,
on fire in space.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look.
it's
get
a
over those
story
little
about
things,
space
you know?
wizards, like space wizards and sentient droids and clones. No, for me, it was definitely the character development, like Brendan was talking about. Like it also expanded Anakin and Ahsoka. Like you see Ahsoka go through this whole thing where like she's literally just trying to be Anakin and do what Anakin does. And it's like, yes,
and gets
there's space
reprimanded
battles
for it.
yeah, and there's that really interesting balance. And I think that like as this show continues on through like season 7, Ahsoka is kind of having that thing where she's realizing like, do I be like Anakin or do I be like myself? And like, do I remain a Jedi or do I leave the Jedi Order? Kind of going through the same stuff Anakin's going through, questioning the stuff going on. And I think that this was just an important episode from that perspective because it like builds upon the characters. The space battles, I mean, as far as space battles go, we've seen cooler ones in my opinion. Like we had that one that was like in like sub orbit where it was like bright outside, like that was dope. But I also felt like the pacing of this episode was just good. Like there was never a part where I was like, okay, let's move on. Whereas with the Mace Windu one, there were sections that I was kind of like, okay, let's just can we move on? Can we get this episode over? But it was still, I mean, like I said, it was still my number 2.
So what I'm hearing is that there have been other space battle episodes that were really, really good, but this one was just better. And you guys are really interested in character development, but just not when it comes to a character that we all know is super strong but never seen it before.
See, the problem
And-
is I have a love-hate relationship with Mace Windu because I love that he has a purple lightsaber and I love that he's a badass, but I hate how disrespectful he is to my favorite character. So
It's not that
it's
he's
really
disrespectful.
difficult for me to like him.
He's cautious, and to be fair, he was right.
He's also really disrespectful. Like he straight up talks down to Anakin, like in the movies, and I'm like,
Yeah,
bitch,
because Anakin doesn't.
you just sit here in your room and do nothing while Anakin does all the work, and
Oh
then
my
you
God.
talk down to him.
You just got mad. That's like Anakin yelling at Ahsoka. Mace Windu is going to yell at Anakin because they're doing the same shit. They're not listening.
Well, it was funny to me actually because Bryant's point about that whole Ahsoka can't be Anakin. Like this whole episode proved that. Like she goes off on her own to try to do this and gets all these people killed, and then Anakin basically does the exact same thing at the end of the episode, but they win because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you can't be him. Like he's too good. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that
Yeah.
he's too good. It's that he is not good at backing people up, but everybody else is really good at backing him up.
You don't.
So I
tell
guess
me.
the question I have for you guys is: we finished season 1. We got Andor coming up, which is going to be keeping us pretty busy. I think they were kind of splitting that over like the course of 2 years, so I don't think we have as many episodes.
Oh, dang.
But season 2 of Clone Wars, what do you guys hope to see?
mean, I know you guys want to see more character development on the two main characters that we've seen this whole time, but I'd like to see some more character development on some characters that we haven't seen so much from, you know, like maybe some of the other Jedis. I'd like to see maybe some more Kit Fisto. I just kind of want to see more about why these Jedis are so cool and why they were so important and where they got to where they are. I liked the little bit of background we got on General Grievous. I'm definitely interested to see more of that. Obviously excited to see more from this gang of assassins that Cad Bane seems to be running. So I'm excited to see that. Hoping that we are going to get some more development specifically on Ahsoka, because I am starting to really enjoy her as a character. And maybe we'll see Anakin hold on to his lightsaber for once.
I think that's the difference in us, though. You want to see like all this stuff that I just really don't give a shit about.
Well, that's what surprises me with you, because you always complain that it's always the same 4 planets and the same this and the same that, but yet all you care about is the same characters, and you don't want to branch out.
Those are the
into
characters
Star Wars
that I
universe.
like. I'm okay with branching out, but I'm not. You can't judge me on which one was my favorite.
Oh my god, you are so close-minded. You're sitting here like, I don't like Mace Windu because he doesn't like my favorite character.
No, I don't like him because he's disrespectful
To my favorite character. See?
Yes, it's my feelings, but that's the way it is. That's the way that it works. All right, to answer Bryant's question, I really just want to see more about Anakin. And
Yep.
just kidding. No, honestly, I don't know what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing Order 66. I want to know how we got from here to there. And I know that that's obviously not going to happen in season 2. That's going to be like the final season.
7.
But
yeah,
it's weird to me because I know what happens, and like the relationship between the clones and the Jedi and all of that is so great right now. So it's just weird. And that's what I'm looking forward to see, is how that happens.
Okay. I'm looking at just kind of like the Disney Plus like cycles of it, and yeah, season 2, man, I'm excited to jump into it. There's some like banger episodes here, and plus the graphics get better. Like that's kind of one of the exciting parts. There's 22 episodes in that one, so we will clearly dive into that. But yeah, I think that's kind of a good closure on season 1. I feel like we saw a lot. We saw a ton of Jedi that we've all kind of wanted, and you know, the thing that I love about the series the most is like we get expanded stories. We see more about Mace. We see more about Plo Koon, like Kit Fisto and Luminara, and all these Jedi that we've seen, but we never got the stories of. And we got new planets. So overall, man, I mean, I would give it I'd give season 1 like a 4 out of 5.
Oh, dang, we're rating the season now?
I mean, you guys don't have to. I just threw it out there.
I don't know what to
Spit can.
compare it with, you know? Like, I'm with you.
Just-
I'm excited to see branching out of characters other than Anakin.
Well, not comparing it with anything, but if I told you you had to rate it 5 stars, what would you give it?
Oh, is that what you did? 4 out of 5?
Yeah.
I thought you said 4 out of 10. I was like, oh god.
No, I was just saying 4 out of 5.
I'd say like a 3 out of 5. I'm excited
Okay.
with. I feel like things are getting better, like in the 21st episode where they kind of explain the droids kind of being a little bit more free thinking. It explains a little bit of the goofiness and stuff that they bring to the table. I just am a little bummed that it took 20 episodes to get there, because that was always something that kind of bothered me with some of the beginning episodes. But now that they've established that, it's like, oh, okay. I'm hoping that at some point they'll explain why ships are on fire in space, but not banking on that.
There's like a 10-part series in season 6 where they explain oxygen and gravity.
I'm going to go with Robbie and
Just
say a
kidding.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
It was
Okay.
good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not rating it a 3 out of 5 as a bad thing, but
it
I
because
think
there
it's
was-
going to get better.
Is it because there was
Yes.
too many episodes that were showing other characters and their development? Because I noticed those tend to be like the last on your list of the episode rankings. You're like, yeah, it's Kit Fisto guys, whatever, but that episode wasn't my favorite.
If they don't make me care about them, then I don't care about them.
Well, I think that's a good place to end on it. Is if they don't make me care about them, I don't care about them.
Fair enough.
So, until next time. So we're taking off. Actually, let's just point out we're taking off next week, and then we'll be back in September. Kind of just talking about some general Star Wars stuff, kind of leading up to Andor, which is launching on September 21st. So hopefully, all of you are looking forward to that. Diving into kind of some prequel Rogue One stuff, which I'm excited because that's all of our favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One. So it's going to be interesting to kind of get a series that's kind of the prequel for it.
What if it's just terrible?
I don't know. Have you seen the trailer?
It doesn't look that great.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't seen the trailer,
That's
so
true.
I don't know.
Dude, that trailer might be one of the best fucking Star Wars trailers
I
ever
think I
made.
started seeing the trailer, but I don't think I finished it. So maybe
Like
not.
the audio design for that trailer and like just how they did it, it's Rogue One. Like I'm like, oh, this is sick. Like it's not. I don't know. We'll watch it off stream and we'll talk about it. But yeah. Until next time, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us as we talk about Star Wars again. We are three best friends, or I don't know. Not to make it awkward, but can I say that you guys are my best friends?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
been waiting so long.
All right.
Lisa's
We had a
so
moment
happy.
here.
Oh wait, sorry. Ask that again.
Can we be best friends?
Roger, Roger.
There we go. Until next time, thank you guys for hanging out, and we will see you in the next episode. Live long and prosper, folks.
Whoa, hey, no.
I don't think you could sign off with a Star Trek reference.
You at least sign off with like, I am one with the Force. The Force is one with me. What does it say?